Hello and welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. I'm Marley Bird, proud spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make the lacy pineapple shawl, which is one of my favorite designs I've designed. You've probably seen me wearing it in a couple of videos here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. But this particular shawl is so fun, so fast, and is just really great to throw on around your neck or over your shoulders any time of year. Now this particular shawl and the other ones that I made for the patterns available for free over on redheart.com use a yarn called Red Heart Heart and Soul, which is 73% wool and 27% nylon, which I think is great for all crochet projects because you get the wool that has the memory and then you have the nylon that is able to maintain the weight of the actual crochet piece. So coupling those together with this yarn and this pattern makes for a really spectacular piece, okay? When you make this shawl, you're going to use Red Heart, Heart and Soul, and an F crochet hook. But for the pattern today in the video, I'm going to use Red Heart soft yarn and an I crochet hook, just because I think it's easier for you to see the stitches as I'm making them. Now, as I mentioned, this is a free pattern available over on redheart.com. You can find the link to it right down there in the video notes. And when you're down there, please smash that like button, as my kids say, to let people know that you enjoyed this video. Get the pattern, gather some materials, and let's jump in. I'm going to show you how to work up this stitch pattern through the stitch repeat, and then you can watch video 2 if you want to carry on and know how to actually repeat rows 7 through 9 to create the beautiful shawl. Let's jump in. Once again, let me point out that I'm using Red Heart soft yarn for the swatch today that I'm going to be making because it's easier for you to see the stitches. I'm going to begin by putting a slip knot directly onto my hook. Now, if you need instructions on how to do a slip knot or other basic crochet stitches, please click on that link right there and that will take you to some of the beginner basic videos I've done right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Once you've created your slip knot, you want to go ahead and chain 4 stitches. Once you've chained 4 stitches, we're going to put a slip stitch into the first chain we created, and that will give us a ring, okay? I'm going to try and stick my fingernail right through there. So there is my ring. That's where we're going to be placing these next stitches. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to do 5 single crochet all into this ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I do not want those 5 single crochet to go all the way around to form a circle. This is actually just the tippity top of my shawl. These initial chains out here that are still kind of open and free will just disappear into the actual shawl pattern. They won't be visible. They are a little bit more visible with the soft yarn just because it's thicker, but pay no attention to those. So that is your row 1. We've completed row 1. Let's jump into row 2. Row 2 begins with a turn and a chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once you've done this chain 6, I want you to know that this initial first 3 counts as a double crochet and these second 3 counts as a chain 3. Now we're going to do a double crochet into the first single crochet. Then we're going to chain 3, skip the next single crochet, and we're going to do a double crochet, chain 3, and a double crochet all into the next single crochet. Then we're going to chain 3, skip the single crochet, and do a double crochet, chain 3, and a double crochet into the last single crochet. Once you've completed that, you can see where we're starting to build the actual shawl. This is the side of the shawl, here's the center spine, and here's the other side. Once we've set this up, we can begin to start building our actual pineapples, and that's what we're going to begin doing now. For row 3, we turn our work and we have to place our hook and our yarn into the proper place to begin our next stitch. So I'm going to put a slip stitch into the first double crochet and a slip stitch over to my chain 3 space. This is consistent throughout the entire pattern. You will have to move your stitches over into the blank space, the chain space, to begin building stitches. So this is something that's going to be consistent throughout the whole pattern. We'll begin each row in the chain space. Once you're to the chain space, we can begin on row 3. So we start off with a chain 3, and then we do a double crochet, chain 2, and then 2 double crochets all into this beginner chain space. Now this particular stitch, this chain 3, double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochets into this stitch is called the beginning shell. Whenever we're going to begin a shell pattern with this chain 3, that's what we will be doing. This particular shell, the 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, is going to be used throughout the entire pattern. And I do want to caution you that whenever you find a pattern that says to do a shell, don't just automatically assume you know what the shell pattern is. Always go and find the stitch abbreviations or the stitch glossary of that particular pattern to know what the shell stitch is. For this particular pattern, the shell is the 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles. Once you've completed the beginner shell into that first chain 2 space, you will continue on with a chain 3. Working into this next chain 3 space, we're going to do a double crochet, a chain 3, whoops, and then another double crochet. Once we've completed that, we'll continue on with 3 chains, and we will now be at the center point of our shawl. This is the center spine of our shawl. In the center point of our shawl, we're going to put a shell. And remember, a shell is 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then 2 double crochets, all into that space. You are not working into actual stitches, you're working into a space. Once you've completed that, you will chain 3, do a double crochet in the next chain 3 space, chain 3, another double crochet in that same chain 3 space, chain 3, and then we'll finish it off with the shell pattern right here into the space of our original chain 6 from the previous row. So we'll do a double, a chain 2, and then 2 more doubles. I'm going to set this down as soon as I complete this double, and so you can see what it is you should be looking at so far. You can see right here, this is our beginning chain 4, and then we have our 5 single crochets. Then we began to build on our single crochets with a double, chain 3, double, so on and so forth. And by doing that, that began to set up our rows for our shells and the beginning points for our pineapple. Now that you're past row 3, we can rock and roll and get into row 4. For row 4, once again, we have to pick up our work and turn and get our hook and yarn into the place of the chains so that way we can build our stitch. So I'm putting slip stitches into the tops of those 2 stitches from the previous row, and then a slip stitch into the chain section. This puts my hook and my yarn into the proper place. Now I can carry on with row 4, which begins with the chain 3, a double, chain 2, and a double, which once again is a beginning shell. So there we are, chain 3, double, chain 2, and then 2 doubles. Then we have 1, 2, 3 chains, and we're going to work all the way over here into this chain 3 section that we created on the previous row, and this is where we're going to start to build our pineapple. So when we build our pineapple, it always will be a double crochet and chain 3, double crochet, chain 3, double crochet, chain 3, double crochet, chain 3, and then a double crochet. We will have done 5 double crochets total into that one space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all of them are separated with those chain 3s. This is the beginning of our pineapple. We carry on by doing a chain 3, and then we work all the way over here to our center spine stitch right there, and we're going to do a shell. So we do 2 doubles, chain 2, and then do 2 doubles. And now we work the opposite side of the shawl, which you're going to notice is symmetrical to what we just did. So we're going to chain 3, and then we're going to build our pineapple right here into this chain 3 space. So we're going to do a double crochet, chain 3, a double crochet, chain 3, double crochet, chain 3, a double crochet, chain 3, and a double crochet. And I'm going to stop and I'm going to count to make sure I have 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'll do that throughout the pattern. I'll continue to go back to make sure that I have the correct number of stitches in the space that I've just created. It's much easier to do it now than later on when you're going along and you have several pineapples going on and only find out that you missed one of the double crochets on the next row and you have to rip out. That's no fun. Go ahead, take the time every time you finish one of the beginner pineapples where it's a double, chain 3, double, chain 3, so on and so forth. Always count and make sure you have 5 double crochets created. As we carry on in the pattern, we're going to chain 3 and we're going to work all the way over here to this last chain space and we're going to do a shell. So we're going to put 2 doubles, a chain 2, and 2 doubles. 1 and 2. Now let's sit this down and talk a little bit about what it is we're actually looking at. As I set this down, you can see we're beginning to build our pineapple right there and right there. This entire shawl is created to be symmetrical. So right here down our center spine, if I were to put my hand right there, this entire side of the shawl will be identical to this entire side of the shawl. And as we go through each row and section repeat, you'll notice that you're going to be increasing 1 pineapple for each repeat. So right now we have 1 pineapple. In the next section, you'll see we have 2, and then so on. We'll go on to 3, 4, so on and so forth, until the shawl is the size you want it to be, or if you're following along the pattern, until you've repeated the number of rows you need to repeat. So now that we've completed row 4, let's move on and jump into row 5 and row 6, so that way I can get you worked up to where the actual stitch and row repeat will be completed. For row 5, I'm going to go ahead and turn my work, and I want to have my yarn and my hook in the correct place yet again. So I'm going to slip stitch over to my chain 2 space. Once I'm to my chain 2 space, I can begin with my chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now into this same space, I'm going to create a shell. So I'm going to put 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. What this is doing is it's beginning to build a shell pattern out right here, and what this will do, it will morph into a pineapple, and this portion here will be the extension of the actual side of the shawl. So once I've done my shell pattern, I'm going to chain 3, come all the way over here to where the pineapple is, and this is going to be a consistent stitch for the pineapple throughout. In the chain 3 area, I'm going to do a single crochet, chain 5, single crochet in the next chain 3 area space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains, single crochet in the next chain 3 space, chain 5, single crochet in the last chain 3 space. Then I chain 3, come over here to where this chain 2 space is for the shell, and I'm going to put a shell right on top of that. So there's 1, 2 doubles, chain 2, and put 2 more doubles. 1, 2. Now I go ahead and I'm going to chain 3. And I'm going to, again, put a shell into this same space. So there's 2 doubles, chain 2, 1, 2 doubles. So if I set this down, what you can see here is in the center section, I've created a shell, a chain 3, and a shell. And again, this is where it's going to start building out some pineapples from these shells right there out from the center portion. So I've increased out here on the outside, and I've increased right here just by doing those extra shells. Okay, now this side of the shawl is completely symmetrical to this. So knowing that, I know that I'm going to chain 3, Come over here to where my pineapple is beginning, go into my chain 3 space, do a single, chain 5, do a single in the next chain 3, chain 5, single in the next chain 3, chain 5, and a single in the last chain 3. Chain 3, come over here to this chain 2 space and we're going to put a shell. And then we will do a chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and a double crochet into that same space. And what that does is it finishes off that row the same way we started. So looking at this, we can see here's our center spine. Here is the side, here's the opposite side, and they are symmetrical. Now I do want to point out that right now these stitches out here that we've slip stitched in so we get to the center point, they're a little bit bigger and bulkier on this portion of the shawl because we're using thicker yarn. With the smaller yarn, those stitches actually become fairly invisible along the edge and they look really nice, just so that you know, so you're not absolutely worried thinking like, why am I slipping stitches over? It puts everything in the right place and it looks really nice, okay? So let's go ahead and move on to row 6. For row 6, we once again turn our work and we're going to slip stitch over to have our yarn and our hook in the correct place. So I slip stitch in the first double and I slip stitch into my chain 3. Once I'm here, I can move on and I can begin with my chain 3, double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. Once again, this is the beginning shell. Okay? Once I've done that, I chain 2. Moving over here into this chain 2 space of a shell, I'm going to create another shell. So there's 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, okay? Now I move on, I chain 3. And I'm working all the way over here to where our pineapple is beginning, and I'm working into this chain 5 space. I'm going to put a single crochet. I'll chain 5. I'm going to put a single crochet. I'm going to chain 5. And I'm going to put a single crochet in the last one. Chain 3. I'm working all the way over here into the chain 2 space of this shell that was created down the center. I'm going to create another shell. Whoops. Now I'm going to chain 2. And into the chain 3 space, which is literally right down the center spine, I'm going to do another shell. So I'm going to put 2 doubles, chain 2, and then 2 doubles. Working into this next shell, I've now crossed over, right? So I need to make sure I chain 2. I'm on the opposite side of my shawl. I'm going to put a shell into the chain 2 space of the next shell. You with me so far? I'm going to chain 3. Working over here into my pineapple, I'm working into the chain 5 space. I will do a single crochet, chain 5. Single crochet into the next chain 5 space, chain 5, single crochet into the last chain 5 space, and then I will chain 3. I'm going to work a shell into this chain 2 space of the shell that's next over, chain 2, and then do 2 doubles to complete my shell. Okay, you with me? Now I'm going to chain 2, and right here into this chain 6 space, which actually counts as a double and a chain 3, I'm going to do another shell. So I'm going to do my 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then 2 double crochets. So there's 1 and 2. And I'm gonna set this down so that we can see what's going on. So as we look at our pattern here, you can see this is our center spine going all the way up. And then right here, this is along the edge of one side and along the edge of the opposite side. Now at this point in the pattern, it says we're gonna place a marker into the chain spaces on the wingspan on the edge and up the center spine. What that's going to do is it's going to allow you to have a place that you're going to work your repeats towards as your pattern increases. With each row, you will work or move that stitch marker up into the corresponding space on the next row. As you continue to move it up, it will keep you balanced into where the center spine is and where the outside edges are. So let's go ahead and add those now. I'm just using some removable stitch markers here, and I'm going to come over here to this edge, and I'm finding where my chain space is. It's right there. So I'm going to just mark that space. And you'll notice I'm not actually marking the chain itself because I want to be able to work into that. I'm just I'm marking the space underneath it. I find it easier to do that so that way I don't have to move the stitch markers as I come to them right away. Here is my center spine. I'm going to take another marker, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I'm marking right through the center of what would be a shell right there. So that way I know that's the center spine. And I'll take one more marker and I'm gonna mark over here the same way right there. So that way I know those are my chain 2. See, so now everything's marked up. Now that we've placed our markers, we are ready to begin our rows 7 through 9, which are not only our row repeat, but within that row repeat, we have our stitch repeat. Now, that sounds like a lot of repeat going on there, but what it really means is that as your shawl grows, you will be able to maintain particular stitch pattern repeats that are given to you within brackets of the stitches on the pattern itself. And as you increase your shawl and you have more stitches and you have more pineapples, you will do those stitch pattern repeats to work those stitch pineapples up to the center marker. And then as we go to the opposite side, it'll go from the center marker to the outside marker. It makes a lot more sense as we are jumping in and working into it. So now that you have the first 6 rows complete, go ahead, watch the next video for how to do rows 7 through 9, which are the row pattern repeat, and then we will talk about how to do the stitch pattern repeat. Go ahead, hit that next video, and let's continue on with the pineapple lace stitch shawl. Don't forget to hit that like button.